From our free daily newsletter, the latest from podnews.net with Riverside. The Golden Mike Awards for broadcast, radio and TV news have opened the awards programme to independent podcast producers from around the US. One of the most prestigious and difficult to win awards. You've from September the 1st to October the 3rd to enter. At large, the Forward Network and Number 8 have partnered to produce what they dub Privacy First Audience Targeting. The tool uses AI to leverage anonymised first-party listening signals and rich content metadata to match brands with high-value audiences. In Australia, SBS has opened its new podcast pitching call, looking for podcast ideas that inform, educate and entertain all Australians, and in doing so reflect Australia's multicultural society. Podcasts are in English and other languages. Podmatch has become the latest Pod News Gold supporter. Podmatch automatically matches ideal podcast hosts and guests and is one of a number of companies and people that pay for Pod News for everyone. We don't put anything behind a paywall or offer anything special to our supporters other than our grateful thanks. Nor does it affect our coverage of them, by the way. Anyway, we'll link to where you can become a supporter today and more information about how else to support us. And thank you to Alex Sanfilippo and the rest of the team. Producing a financial podcast can be hard since everyone's financial situation is different. Your Moneyline has launched a personalised podcast tailored to each listener. We link to a sample today. The audio is within the company's existing app. True Native Media has announced a new partnership with independent podcast collective Multitude. Multitude will add 7 shows to the agency's roster. How fast do you get paid for the ads that appear in your podcast? How about the same day? That's the promise of a new partnership between OSSA and Breaker Pay, allowing networks and creators to be paid on net zero terms. Breaker is already used by record and events companies. In New York, Gotham Production Studios is 8 years old and is celebrating with a new logo and a partnership with Podix, a scheduling platform for podcast studios, and the Zoe podcast touches 40% of their sales each week, and the show reaches 3.5 million people every month, we're told. We link to some marketing insights today in a Substack from Callum McDonnell, including the interesting insight that newsletters work really well with the Apple podcast charts, since you can get lots of people at the same time to subscribe to a new show. It's a Monday, so time for some tech stuff, and RSS.com has added chapter support for Spotify, which uses the Podlove Simple Chapter specification. The company has also added support for the funding tag to allow you to change the message on your funding wording. Now here's a neat thing on the RSS.com booth at Podcast Movement that we didn't take a picture of. A live watch of new RSS.com hosted podcasts via Podping. We hope that Alberto publishes that code somewhere. It was neat. If you're looking for nice badges of all the decent podcast players out there, then Nathan Gathwright's big list of podcast badges is now part of Podlink, so it has a new home and a tidy up. In the Podcasting 2.0 podcast this week, Adam Curry talks about his experience at Podcast Movement and his advice: just keep podcasting. Adam and Dave also welcome John Spurlock as a guest. And just as podcasting starts talking about HLS as a way to deliver audio and video, apparently it's very old-fashioned already, because here comes MOQ, Media Over Quick. And in podcast news, in the Pod News Weekly Review this week, that comes from the show floor of Podcast Movement as we discuss what happened at the event and the rest of the week's news. And money, it's a problem and a massive headache for almost all of us. Man vs. Mind has today launched a new series revealing the everyday stress men face with money, how it impacts every aspect of our lives, and offers advice on how we can reframe our relationship with money. And this podcast is sponsored by Riverside's Co-Creator. Meet Co-Creator by Riverside. Turn one recording into clips, captions, show notes and posts, all instantly. AI that understands your content and markets it for you. Create once, publish everywhere. Try Riverside today. There's a link in the show notes, and that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe for free, we're at podnews.net.